Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing a bit of a unique mission. We aren't tackling a finished book or a report.
No, not at all.
Instead, we are diving into a collection of private, unpublished thoughts. Stuff that was never ever meant for us to see.
And the goal is to pull out the wisdom that's sort of locked inside.
Exactly. Give you a shortcut.
What's so fascinating here, I think, is the subject. We're talking about Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
The Roman emperor.
The Roman emperor. And this isn't some speech he wrote for the Senate. It's his diary.
Right.
Private notes, reflections, things he was wrestling with almost 2,000 years ago while running the most powerful empire on earth. It's his internal monologue.
Okay, let's unpack that because
Yeah.
why should someone today, someone dealing with a crazy job or just the chaos of modern life, why should they care about the diary of a long-dead emperor?
Because the chaos he was facing it was immense. We're talking plague, war, betrayal. But his entire strategy for dealing with it was internal.
So the problems were external. The solutions were internal.
Precisely. And that's the core of this deep dive. We're going to synthesize what this text is really about, which is a practical guide to Stoic living.
Stoicism. So self-control, rational thinking, that sort of thing.
All of that, but it's more of a training manual than a philosophy book. You're watching a daily battle in his mind between emotion and reason, between his ego and his sense of duty.
So we really have to see it in context. This is the inner voice of a leader under just, astronomical pressure.
Right.
And he's struggling to just be a good person in a world that's falling apart. It feels less like philosophy and more like, a kind of mental discipline.
That's its power. And there's one insight that runs through the entire thing, a mantra he repeats to himself over and over.
Which is?
You cannot control what happens to you. You can only control your response to it. That's the foundation for everything.
That's the perfect way in then, especially for anyone feeling overwhelmed right now. So let's jump straight into maybe the most powerful lesson, this idea of dividing life into two categories.
The dichotomy of control. Yes. This is what we're calling key philosophical lesson 1. Control what you can and release the rest.
Oh, okay.
Marcus is convinced, and he writes this again and again, that most of our anxiety, our suffering, comes from trying to control things that are completely outside our power.
So he makes these two lists for himself. What's on them? What do we actually control?
It's a very short list. Your thoughts, your judgments about things, and your actions. That's it. That's your territory.
And the other list? The things we don't control.
Is everything else. Other people, the economy, what your boss thinks, whether your flight is on time, all of it.
But that's where we spend all our energy, right? Worrying about that stuff.
Exactly. Because we're so hooked on external outcomes. But Marcus's insight is that peace comes when you focus only on what's yours. Your effort, your integrity. You have to actively train yourself to let go of the rest.
Let's try to ground that with a modern example. Say you're a creator. You're putting your work out there online.
Okay, perfect.
You can't control the algorithm. You can't control the nasty comments or whether people even see your work.
Right, all external. But you have absolute 100% control over your effort, your consistency, and the integrity of the work itself. And focusing on that, it shifts all the power back to you.
Okay, so that connects directly to mindset. If we control our judgments, we control our reality. But what happens when things are objectively bad, like, say, the Antonine Plague during his reign, which was devastating?
A great question, and that moves us right into lesson 2. Your thoughts shape your reality. He constantly tells himself that the quality of his life is just the quality of his thoughts.
The event itself is neutral.
The event is neutral. It's the story you tell yourself about the event that causes the pain. A failure isn't a catastrophe. It's just feedback. Information.
That sounds simple, but it's incredibly hard to do in the moment.
It's the hardest work there is. The mind's default is emotion, is panic. So the whole point is to train your mind to pause, to insert reason before you react. You stop calling things terrible and you just start calling them what they are, and life gets lighter.
So if the journey starts with controlling your thoughts, then the next enemy you have to face is the thing that corrupts those thoughts, the ego.
Yes.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. How does the most powerful man in the world fight his own ego? This is lesson 3. Ego is the enemy of growth.
It's amazing to read. This man had absolute power, something that corrupts almost everyone, and yet his private notes are filled with him actively humbling himself.
How did he do?
He'd remind himself that fame is fleeting, that power is just borrowed, and most importantly, that he's gonna die just like everyone else. He's just a tiny speck in the cosmos.
That's a serious self-check. But, for a professional today, isn't a healthy ego necessary for confidence? To achieve things?
That's the key distinction. He wasn't dismissing his duty or his actions. He was dismissing his attachment to the praise and glory that came with them.
Ah, okay.
Because ego ties your self-worth to what other people think. Humility, on the other hand, creates clarity. It allows you to learn. The lesson for any leader today is that no amount of success means you get to stop working on your character.
Right. The inner work has to keep pace with the outer success. So managing your thoughts, taming your ego, this all requires, well, a lot of fortitude. Let's shift from the internal reflection to the practical daily actions.
Yes, how do you actually do it? And that brings us to lesson 4. Discipline is a daily practice. This isn't about waiting for motivation. For Marcus, discipline is just unglamorous daily work.
So he wasn't just writing big ideas. He was giving himself specific instructions.
Marching orders, yeah. The most famous one is when he chides himself for not wanting to get out of bed.
I think we could all relate to that one.
He literally tells himself, you were made to do this work, so why are you complaining? He reminds himself to avoid comfort, to tackle the hard things first, to act with purpose.
It's like discipline is the physical expression of controlling what you can control.
That's a perfect way to put it. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Because motivation is a feeling, discipline is a habit.
And connecting that daily grind to a bigger perspective, that brings us to probably the most powerful tool in the whole Stoic toolkit, facing mortality.
Lesson 5. Accept mortality to value life. Yes.
He reflects on death constantly, which sounds morbid, but it doesn't read that way.
No, it's a strategic tool. Memento mori. Remember you will die. The point isn't to be gloomy. It's to realize that nothing external is permanent. Not your job, not your health, not your status.
So what's the practical effect of that? How does thinking about death help you live?
It makes everything sharper. It dials up your gratitude for the present moment. Because when you truly internalize that your time is limited, all the petty worries, the office politics, the gossip, the small slights, they just lose their power.
They seem insignificant.
Exactly. It forces you to focus on what actually matters right here, right now.
Okay, so last one. We've talked about our internal state, our discipline. But what about dealing with other people? The conflict, the criticism that's just unavoidable.
Which, as emperor, he faced constantly. That's lesson 6. Respond calmly to insults and criticism. He trains himself not to have an emotional reaction to disrespect or malice.
That feels almost superhuman today. Our whole culture is built on reaction, on outrage.
It does, but his logic is very strategic. He basically says people's errors come from their own ignorance, not from a desire to hurt you specifically.
So don't take it personally?
Don't take it personally. And he offers 2 paths. If someone is genuinely mistaken, you can try to educate them with kindness. But if they're just insulting you, remain completely unmoved.
Let it wash over you.
Because your reaction is what gives them power. The lesson today is that silence and consistency will always defeat noise. If you stay true to your character, their words are just air.
So let's bring this all together. For someone listening, this book, it's not an easy read. It's repetitive, it's dense. So why, despite that, is it still so powerful?
Because its strengths are just. They're timeless. It gives you these very practical mindset lessons in little bites you can reflect on daily.
Right.
And it doesn't try to hype you up or sell you on some secret. It does the opposite. It calms you down. It sharpens your focus on what you can actually control. It builds real emotional resilience.
Which means the ideal audience isn't just, a history buff. It's for overthinkers, for anxious minds, for leaders, for anyone just facing the chaos of the world.
Absolutely. The final verdict on Meditations is that it's not a book you finish. It's not one and done.
It's a book you live with.
It's a book you live with. You go back to it when things are tough. It teaches you something much more valuable than wealth or status. It teaches you how to be calm, focused, and good no matter what's happening around you.
And I think that one core takeaway we found is so simple but so huge. You don't control life, you control how you meet it.
That's the whole philosophy in a sentence. And that brings us to our final thought for you to mull over. If Marcus is right, and the quality of your life depends entirely on the quality of your thoughts, what is just one non-essential external worry you're holding on to right now? Maybe a petty comment, a small setback. What's one thing you can choose to release today just by changing your interpretation of it from disaster to indifferent external event? Something to think about. We'll talk soon.